Greetings, and thank you for joining us for another SANS ICS concept overview. I'm Don C. Weber of Cutaway Security and a certified SANS instructor. In this video, we will discuss Linux-based ICS enumeration and attack tools. This review is intended to provide an overview of the tools that are available and can be used to gather information from and potentially attack a process. We will review a script that is designed to install all of these tools on a Linux-based system for your use in testing within your labs. If you enjoy this video and the topics we cover on the SANS ICS concept overviews, be sure to like and subscribe to this channel. Leave a comment if you have a question about this topic or suggestions for future content. Most ICS and OT engineers and operators are used to dealing with Windows-based tools to interact with their control networks. These tools provide enumeration and control capabilities, usually specific to a vendor for that device. Now, some softwares will interact with other devices that are using the same type of industrial protocol that it's designed for, but a lot of times this software will only interact with specific devices and from specific, but most definitely from specific vendors. And that leads to inflexibility, not only for the engineers and operators, but also for information security professionals and researchers. And that's because we can't do things that are outside the normal for those Windows-based tools. And what the industry has done is they've turned to developing some other programs that interact with the protocols. They've developed libraries that can be used to design those Windows-based tools, but we can also use those libraries and use some of the scripting languages that are provided both for Windows and for Linux to do some of the non-standard things within our environment. And that's what we're going to talk about in this concept overview. We're going to talk about some of those Linux-based tools that allow us to do enumeration and control of the process, and we'll even touch on a few exploitation tools in this, not so that we can show you how to use them, but just so that you understand that they're out there and that you can download and install these on some of your systems and use these to help understand the configuration of your network, to identify devices, and to just give you a basic better view of your control network. Now, as a part of the SANS ICS program and as a part of the ICS 410 course, we have provided our students with the Control Things platform. And all this is it's a distribution, a Linux distribution, where we have configured a lot of the tools that are necessary to interact with these devices as we're talking about. And you can get this by just going out to the Control Things website, which I've already gone through here. I just went to controlthings.io and clicked on the platforms. And I do this whenever I need to, teach a new class, have a fresh install, or if I'm evaluating a network and I need to do a fresh install for that specific client. I'll come out to the Control Things website and I'll download the latest version. And that's this last one right here, the Control Things platform version 1 Bravo Delta. This is a full virtualized operating system. You can import this into VirtualBox or into VMware, and it's already configured. All of the Linux-based tools that we're going to talk about in just a second, well, not all of them, but certainly a majority of them have been included in this distribution. Now, I don't always use this, okay? And the problem with this is that it doesn't change very often. Also, we've configured this platform very specifically because some of the libraries that are associated with the tools that we're going to cover, there are some collisions. Some of them are older. In other words, some of them only run in Python 2.7 and they don't use Python 3. And that can be kind of confusing when you're installing some of these tools. And we've, as a part of this platform, Justin Searle actually manages this, and he does a very good job of ensuring all of those dependencies don't clash. He's taken a lot of time and effort to ensure that the programs run correctly. Okay, but oftentimes I turn to using a Kali box, or even kind of going back to an actual Ubuntu workstation with no tools installed, because I need to ensure that some of those dependencies are taken care of myself. I might be up against a unique situation. And so if I'm going into an environment, if I'm working with a new client and they've got some type of protocol that I haven't dealt with before or I have limited experience, I need to understand what people have already done within our industry and leverage their expertise associated with that. And so whenever I'm doing that, if I need to understand new tools, one of the resources that I turn to is this Information Trust Institute, and it's provided by the University of Illinois, as we can see here, and they've got a GitHub repository with a lot of interesting tools associated with the ICS industry. Not just tools, a lot of other information. If I click on the ICS security tools and I kind of scroll through, we can see that they've gathered a lot of information about companies, configurations, guides, different types of hardware information about that. A lot of times what I do is I go to this protocols, and if I need to understand default ports, I'll click on the ports. It's just a quick list of all the default ports for the different information or industrial protocols. But if I'm talking about Linux-based tools and even some Windows-based tools, I'll look here. So ICS protocols, we can see that they have a list of different tools that are used for different industrial protocols. The very first one is BACnet. We can see that the backpipes is, if you click on that, you would go to their repository, and you'll see that it's a Python-based module. It's actually a part of the Python package management system, pip, and so you can just use pip to install backpipes. And once you have that program, you can start interacting with devices that communicate with BACnet. We can see DMP3. There's some different programs here, very specifically OpenDMP3 and the DMP3 simulator. I like to use this on assessments when I'm doing things in the utility industry. This is put out by Adam Crane and his team. You can click on that and go there. Ethernet, IP, and SIP. There's a couple different modules and tools here. We can see the C3PO, which is another Python tool, and it's provided you can install this using pip as well. 61850 is the libraries associated with that. A lot of tools, Windows-based tools, but also Linux-based tools are built on the lib IEC 61850. If you click on that, you'll see that it takes you to that library, and it's not Python, it's C code, so you do have to compile the tools on there. And we'll take a look at the examples folder and see some of the tools that are built by that. Okay, and this is just a list of tools. There are certainly other tools on there. This is not complete, but I find it's a good resource, and they do maintain it updated periodically 12 days ago as of today. Okay, so I usually go, if I need to interact with a protocol or with a specific type of device, I'll come out here. If I don't already know and have the tool, I'll take a look here. But I still need to install it. Okay, and part of the one of the things that I wanted to do more accurately and quickly is I wanted to script that installation. And so as a part of the cutsec tools, so Cutaway security, cutsec tools, I have come up with an installer script. Okay, and you can find that in the ICS directory under the tools install. And what this script does is just goes out and gathers all of those Python modules that we talked about. So let me scroll down here. We can see the list of tools. So I went through that list. I also have another list of things that I like to install that I understand myself, and install all of those tools. A lot of these tools, as I mentioned, are provided by the Control Things distribution, but some of them are not. So as we can see, Modbus, I download the backpipes, the Ethernet IP, and I install all of these things so that I'm ready to interact with them whenever I need to. And what I've also done is made sure that all of the requirements are met so that the installation is smooth, and we manage those things that require Python 2 and configure those tools correctly. So we install those Python modules. The script also goes through and gathers other tools that are provided that are not within a package management system, okay? And those are typically provided through a GitHub repository. And as you can see here, here's a list of the GitHub repos that my installer script will download so that I can use some of these Linux-based tools. You can see SEXlist is just something default that I like to install on every system. This provides a list of files, a lot of dictionaries for passwords and usernames. So I like to ensure that that's on every system. Typically it comes with Kali, but Ubuntu you have to download the repository and to interact with it. I include the Cutaway security tools because those I've done those, programmed those myself, so I find them extremely useful in my assessments. You can see we download, and actually the script will actually download and build the 61850 libraries. We'll see that in just a second. The other tools that it gathers, and more specifically associated with Nmap. Things that, Nmap is a tool to map your network, to interact with your endpoints, to understand the services that are on there. It can actually communicate with that service, with those protocols, if you write the script correctly. And so Nmap scripts, or leverage the NSE, so the Nmap scripting engine. And these tools interact and pull information from a device using the protocol for that device. Most of them are built on top of the digital bond Redpoint, and so you can see these Scada tools, the Nmap Scada. Some of those are actually just a fork of the Redpoint, but both of those repositories provide additional scripts and additional not only Nmap scripts, but Python and shell-based scripts to interact with endpoints. That's why I included them. Now we also talk about exploitation. I include two things. I download two GitHub repositories associated with exploitation. This bottom one, this Windows Exploit Suggester, all this is it doesn't execute an exploit. It just takes information from a Windows system, sysinformation command that produces a text file that has all the data about the system, and you take that file and you give it to the Windows Exploit Suggester, and it will tell you all of the vulnerabilities associated with missing packages on that system. So I do like that. The Industrial Exploitation Framework, ICS-Sploit, is included, and what this does is it provides multiple capabilities, not only enumeration for specific protocols, but it also provides exploits for certain devices and for certain protocols, and we'll see that in just a second. Okay, so this script that I use that's provided to all of you will download and install all of these things. So if you can't use the controlthings.io, or if you just want to set up your Kali box or an Ubuntu box with these tools, I've automated the process. So how to run this? If we wanted to run this, all we would have to do is we'd have to download the raw script. Okay, and I provided a quick link right here, so I'm just going to copy the link location. And I'm going to go into my downloads directory. I've already gone into my downloads directory, and we want to wget the script. So if I just hit enter, it will download the script. We can see that here. It's not executable at this point, so what I want to do is I want to change modes to 755. This modifies the permissions of the scripts to make it executable. As we can see, it's changed color. The shell just lets us know that our permissions on this file are different. It's actually executable. If I wanted to run that, I would just point to the script, hit enter, and the terminal will execute the script. As you can see here, I give a little bit of warning because these are third-party softwares. I don't control them, so you do need to consider any type of risk around that. I've already run this script, and so the system's already configured. I don't want to go through the whole process, so I'm just going to hit no on this. And if we change into the user's home directory and go into the tools directory, we'll see that we now have a folder called the ICS tools. I created both the tools directory in the user's home directory and the ICS tools directory. I wanted to give it a unique name in case anybody uses the same syntax. And as we can see here, we see a list of the GitHub repos. You don't see the other tools like the Modbus tools, CT Modbus, and so forth, because those are installed as packages. As an example, the Rodbus tool that I really like, that I've done some other videos on when we were interacting with Modbus, we can see here that it's installed and configured. I've updated the shell so that it points to, so that the Rodbus client is in the path of the user, and now you can start using this tool. Some other things that I wanted to point out, as we mentioned, the libiec 61850 is a C-based tool. We actually go through and we compile all of the example files, and the reason for that is when we look at this, all of these example files provide us the capability of interacting with the MMS and Goose protocol. Okay, if we go this MMS utility right here, if I change directory into that, we can see that I've already compiled the program for everybody, and then we can run the help on this, and this will execute. If I execute this, if I point it at a specific host within our environment, we'll see that it gathers the information using the MMS protocol. Okay. Let's go back into our tools directory. Okay, so that's just an example of some of the things that this script performs. They've set up a lot of the tools for us. Another example would be the ICS-F. And this is that ICS-Sploit program. It provides, and you'll see in just a second, it provides us with scanning and exploitation capabilities. This is one of the tools that had to have special consideration for its implementation, so I've generated a shell script to run that. This just makes sure that it runs Python 2 correctly, and the tool's configured and set up and ready to go, ready for you to use, ready for me to use on my assessments. Sometimes it takes a minute to actually run for the first time if I haven't run it for a while. And as we can see here, it just comes up and it's ready to use. It's got a similar, if you're familiar with Metasploit, and we'll take a look at Metasploit in just a second, it has a similar interface to that. We can do the show all command. And what this will do is we'll list out all of the capabilities. And as we can see here, it has exploits for certain systems, certain program logic controllers, and provides those capabilities in case we need them and or need to do demonstration within our labs, because we do not want to do this on a production system at all. Okay. It also provides scanners for specific protocols. We can see the ENIP, the SIP scanners, and Siemens 7 scanners. It also provides credentials to do brute forcing. If you run these modules, you can easily interact with and do some brute force attacks, update your password list, which is why I downloaded the sec list as well. And if we just want to use that, we would just type use, scanner SIP. I want to show options. It's a little big, but as we can see, I can define a target range. It's going to use the default port for SIP 44818. And now I can run this tool against a large number of devices within my network, and it will interact using the SIP protocol and pull the information back. So I do use the ICS-Sploit to do a lot of scanning because it's set up and configured to use that protocol correctly. But it also provides those exploitation capabilities. Another tool that provides, that people are most familiar with using exploitation, is Metasploit. So I'm going to go ahead and go to and open up the Metasploit framework. It does require administrative privileges. Let's make our font bigger. And once this runs, this is going to provide a similar display as the ICS exploit. Actually, the ICS exploit is based on this. And this contains a lot of exploits, a lot of programs to interact with devices on our corporate networks and our control networks. But what we can see is that, so let me clear that, if I search on Scada, everything that is provided through the Metasploit module is dealing with industrial control system is under the Scada term. So if I do a search on that, we can see that we have a lot of different capabilities. So if there is some type of vulnerable device, then the exploit, if Metasploit has it, it will be listed under this. It also provides similar capabilities as the ICS exploit. In other words, it will allow scanning and other capabilities as well. As we can see here, we can run commands on specific types of devices as well. So an Allen Bradley Rockwell automation, Ethernet IP SIP commands. So if we just use this module, I can just type U7, show options, and we can see I can configure this to do certain things leveraging the SIP protocol. And in this case, I can send to a Rockwell PLC, I can send a stop CPU command or a crash CPU, which would be an actual exploit against this system. If it's vulnerable to this crash CPU or crash Ethernet, then I can take that device down and induce a loss of view and possibly a loss of control. Okay, and this is all built into the Metasploit framework that's provided through Kali, that's installed here, it's installed on the control things. Okay. So in conclusion, gathering information from industrial control systems is difficult to do sometimes with the Windows-based tools that are provided by our vendors, by our integrators, and so forth. And that's because they're designed specifically to interact with the control network in a way that the operators are used to. So they're not as flexible. So in order to have some flexibility, in order to do things that aren't necessarily normal within our environments, whether it's to enumerate things to gather information, or whether it's to demonstrate that we can modify the process or actually do an exploitation attack against our network, we turn to a lot of our Linux-based tools. And hopefully this has provided you with some information about that. Hopefully the script that I've provided gets you a little bit closer to interacting and using those, whether it's through the Control Things IO platform or whether you're building your own system. Thank you for tuning in to another concept overview with the SANS ICS and Cutaway security teams. Please let us know if there are other topics you would like us to cover in the comments below. If you enjoyed the content, please be sure to like and subscribe to the SANS ICS YouTube channel. This has been Don C. Weber of Cutaway Security. Go forth and do good things.